shaping that paper template. Just come up to the folder to put a 90-degree bend in it. It's pretty good. Go back and stretch it now. Start about that point. That edge just got to fold down this way. Made this piece up out of 1mm steel, just bent it up in the folder. We've got to bend it down this way to match the contour of the transmission tunnel. So just put it in the stretcher. I'm going to try and bend it about that point there. Just keep working it around. We're going to give it a trial fit on the car now to see how close we're going. That's just about there, just a little bit more to kick around at the end, and it'll be good. I'll trim that off and I'll weld it onto the brackets as we go. Tack it on anyway. That was good, ran out of wire just as I was starting to weld it up. Make a quick dash up to the hardware, get some more, and we're right to go again. Only some tacks on it for now. I'll fully weld it up once I'm confident that everything's in the right spot. So I'll keep going now, I'll put that back in and make the rest of the bits that go to completing it. So thickness of steel is thicker than what's on there already anyway. The bottom pieces are a little bit more substantial, so I put a thicker piece on there. The last thing that I did under there, after I'd finished shaping that piece, it's probably near and impossible to see, but I made a scribe line around the outside of that so I know where to clamp it to before I weld it. And an index mark, although on this side I knew that that edge there had to line up. So I'll clamp that down and tack weld it in place as well. Well, that's the sides of the driver's side done now. I can throw that back in the car and I'll do the other sides, and then I'll come back and do the bottom piece, which joins it up to the floor pan. It's a bit thicker, it's about 2.5. I haven't got any 2.5 here, so I'll probably use 3mm on it. So we got the front and back flanges made there now. That's all sitting in place. Just need to make the infill pieces that go back to the underneath the floor there. It's a job for tomorrow. So that's the gearbox mounts there, tacked together with all their additions. Pretty happy with the way it's sitting in the car at the moment, so I'll go through and weld them up. Then I'll get the block. We've got some engine mounts for it as well. Cross member, sump and gearbox. I'll get all that in the car. I'll probably tack them in first where I think they should be, and get the rest of it in the car to line it up, and make sure it's all good, then fully weld them in. So you can see there now I've got the gearbox mounts tacked into place. I'll just got the plasma cutter out. I'll go in and take that bit of steel out in there where the gear lever will come up through it, and then dummy it all up, see how it fits. Another option with this putting a 5-speed in is to use an automatic gearbox cross member like I've got here, and bolt directly to the floor with compensation plates on the inside. And although it's close, not quite sure if you can see, it's still probably about 10mm too low at the back. So unless you can raise the actual gearbox rubber, which you can't because it sits on the bottom face of that, you've got to drop the front of the engine down by about 10mm, and that brings the close to the cross member. It can be done, and I've done it in the green Mark 1, but this is the best way to do it. So just finishing the trial fit up of the engine and gearbox now. Everything went in really well. I just had to fine tune the hole where the gear lever goes through a little bit, but apart from that, it's all worked out well. That's where the gear lever comes through. I actually thought that the top tube for the selector rod would be hitting on that, but it's not. It's cleared it, which is quite good all the way through. So all I need to do now is make up a plate to go in there, and I'll weld it around, and that'll close up that hole from that cross member on the underside. That's where the cutouts around will sit, around about there. I might make it come up a little bit so that there's a little bit of clearance there. This part of the gearbox usually doesn't move around all that much. Put our angle gauge down here on the cross member, and should I say on the chassis rail, and zero it. I'm going to bring it up pretty much smack bang on 4 degrees, which is exactly what the doctor ordered. So now that I know that everything's lined up right, I can weld in the gearbox cross members. It's just sitting there. It's all bolted in at the moment, so there's no weight on the engine crane. And they're just standard engine mounts at the moment. We might try and put some of those, the rounder type rubbers in there for the radial compression type ones. These ones end up tearing themselves apart usually. So that's all good. It's enough for the weekend. This is how the engine mount's finished up. I should say the gearbox mount's finished up on this. It's got seam sealer and some etch primer on it there now. And gear lever hole where it breaks through that bracing. And that rear part there actually forms part of the surround there that I've made up for the gear lever hole. So I've raised it up there a bit, and that gives enough clearance around the gear lever extension on the gearbox itself. Once again, I'll give that all a good seam seal before it's all finished. You can actually still see the dents there from the original spot welds, and back here where I've plug welded the new mounts through, and down onto the floor as well.